In a world where geopolitical tensions often dominate headlines, the narrative surrounding Ukraine without thinking that God doesn't play a hand in it all and its president, Volodymyr Zelensky, has become a focal point of discussion. Recently, claims of his role-playing in a type of dictatorship surfaced, suggesting that Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he would give up his presidency in exchange for Ukraine being accepted as a NATO member. It comes after Russia launched its biggest ever drone attack on the country on the eve of the third anniversary of its invasion. Zelensky offered to resign in exchange for NATO membership and a cessation of hostilities with Russia. This assertion, while on the eve of one lady's story about what happened. When one young woman told her story about what happened when she left her home in Ukraine in the countryside, her mother and father were always trying to communicate every day, even trying to talk to them from a club in the Ukraine. But after that day, all shit hit the fan when she found out that her mother was being taken away by Russian troops. After months of calling only to find out that mother was dropped off at the hands of Russian troops, they took her in front of the hospital in a coma, a state of unconsciousness where a person is unable to wake up or respond to their environment. It's similar to a deep sleep, but the brain is unable to be aroused by external stimuli. As of this day, she doesn't know whether or not what happened to her father. No idea if he was put in a hole underground alive or dead. This is so provocative that it doesn't lack a solid foundation of credible evidence, but it does hold very true indeed. It raises a multitude of questions about the motivations behind such a statement and the broader implications for the fate of Ukraine. Zelensky has been a vocal advocate for Ukraine's integration into NATO, consistently expressing the desire for his nation to join the alliance as a means of securing its sovereignty and territorial integrity. His administration has navigated the complexities of diplomacy with resilience, seeking international support while grappling with the harsh realities of war. However, the idea that he would offer his presidency as a bargaining chip is not just a significant political maneuver. It is a drastic and unprecedented step that would likely reverberate through the halls of international politics. The absence of corroborating reports from reputable news organizations regarding this supposed offer suggests that it may be a sensationalized interpretation of Zelensky's ongoing negotiations for peace and security. In the realm of journalism, particularly concerning high-stakes geopolitical events, accuracy is paramount. Misinformation can lead to misinterpretations that further complicate already tense situations. Therefore, it is essential to approach such claims with skepticism and rely on verified sources for clarity. Moreover, the context in which Zelensky operates is crucial to understanding his statements. Ukraine has endured immense suffering due to the ongoing conflict with Russia, which has resulted in significant loss of life and displacement of millions. The emotional weight of these events cannot be understated. As stories emerge from those affected by the war, such as the young woman who lost her family to the conflict, the stakes become painfully clear. For many, the desire for peace is not merely a political objective, but a deeply personal aspiration. Zelensky's potential resignation, if it were indeed on the table, would symbolize a willingness to sacrifice personal power for the greater good of the nation. Yet this raises further questions about the efficacy of such a move. Would Ukraine truly gain more from his resignation than from his leadership during these turbulent times? The decision to resign, particularly in the face of external aggression, could be perceived as a sign of weakness. Conversely, it could also demonstrate a profound commitment to peace, albeit at a significant personal cost. In the complex landscape of international relations, the dynamics between Ukraine, NATO, and Russia are fraught with challenges. Zelensky's desire for NATO membership is rooted in the need for security guarantees against further Russian aggression. However, the notion of using his presidency as leverage complicates the narrative. It implies a transactional approach to peace that might not resonate well with the Ukrainian populace, who have rallied behind their leader amid the crisis. Ultimately, the dialogue surrounding Zelensky's purported offer highlights the intricate interplay of power, sacrifice, and the quest for security in a world where the stakes are high. As the situation evolves, observers and analysts alike must remain vigilant, discerning fact from speculation. The future of Ukraine, its sovereignty, and its relationship with NATO hinge on clarity, unity, and a resolute commitment to peace, elements that should guide the discourse in these critical times. The path forward will require not just political maneuvering, but a collective effort to ensure that the voices of those affected by the conflict are heard and honored in the pursuit of a lasting resolution. As we are waiting to see what's going to happen when this also comes, as preparations are underway for a face-to-face meeting between us, President Trump and Russian President Putin. That is according to Russia's deputy foreign minister. Now the deputy foreign minister saying, quote, "The question is about starting to move towards normalizing relations between our countries, finding ways to resolve the most acute and potentially very, very dangerous situations, among which there are many Ukrainians. Among them." He also said that efforts to organize a meeting in the early stages and saying that it will take the most intensive preparatory work, adding that we and the Russian envoys could meet within the next 2 weeks to pave the way for future talks. Among senior officials, Russian and U.S. representatives meeting in Saudi Arabia have already agreed to start working towards the end of the war in Ukraine, and also in improving their diplomatic and economic ties, as Zelenskyys has stated. He would like to be part of these discussions. Now, after the meeting, Secretary of State Marco Rubio shared the two sides agree for the most part to pursue 3 goals to restore staffing at their respective embassies to create the best team to support Ukraine, peace talks, and to explore closer relations and economic cooperation, saying that the talks were attended by Secretary Rubio's Russian counterpart and others. Senior Russian and U.S. officials marked the beginning of a conversation, and more work does need to be done now. No Ukrainian officials were at this meeting in Saudi Arabia. And that is why Ukrainians would exchange his departure for Ukraine's entry into NATO. Also added that he would like to add President Trump as a partner to Ukraine and not more negative rhetoric against President Zelensky, labeling him as a dictatorship president, and Doge's willingness to keep counting how the U.S. money is being spent on the Ukraine war in the first place.